most wonderful, our most wonderful Jolene Irving to teach us tonight. Now, Jolene and I met at one of the retreats for our team, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And I really was impressed with her. Jolene and I have grown in our friendship through that time to find out that we're extremely similar. We both have large families. We both have a lot of grandchildren. We both have, I did not homeschool like she did, but we have a lot of similarities in our personality. And whenever she says, I think I'm going to do this or this or this, I'm like, me too. So we're just on the same path. And I just feel very close to her. She is an amazing leader and an amazing, she homeschooled her children, but went much further than that, where she worked on curriculum and helped many homeschoolers. She's from Houston, Texas, and she has done the oils for quite a while and has a lot of great information to share with us tonight about stress and how we can manage the stress in our lives. And we're so lucky to have her. So thank you, Jolene, for coming to teach us tonight.
So can you share?
Yes, thank you. I forgot to do that. Security and share screen. There we go. Now see if it works. Is it working for you?
See one.
There it is.
So what do you guys see?
Yep, we see your whole chart, but we also see your pictures down the side, but that's no problem at all, if that's how you want to do it.
It's not.
Because there's one way to share where you kind of just, ooh, there you go. That's it. Now we just see the screen, just the slide.
Okay. So I first wanted just to start out saying that I'm nervous as can be to be here to present in front of you guys, but Jolene and your team has made the night and day difference for our team over here. So we're actually sister groups, which makes it kind of fun. That's how we made the connection. But it's been you guys who have supported me through any of the stuff that the group over here has done. And so I'm really happy to share, and I hope I don't let Jolene down with preparing. But hold on one second. I've got to grab.
So guys, while she's gone for just a second, I have my sweet daughter came home from a mission today, and I'm going to have to leave for just a little bit of this. And Lee's in charge. She's going to, if there's any needs, Lee's going to take over. All right, go for it, Jolene.
Okay. I had remembered where I've gotten most of my content for today is from this book. Has everybody seen and had an opportunity to look through this book? If you haven't, we can go over a little bit. I can show you the structure of it at the end of the time. But I really love this book, and one of the reasons that it has made such an impression on me is because it's taken the pyramid that doTERRA has, and which I think is like the most amazing thing. It puts everything in perspective, and it's stacked exactly right. And so in the back of the book, it has a lot of information on each one of those steps in the pyramid. And so that's where I've gotten the majority of the information that we're going to use tonight. And as you see, it's the one on rest and managing stress. So I know that the title of this was Eliminating Stress. Just as a disclaimer here at the beginning, there's no way to eliminate stress. And by Dr. Damaris, who all of us know and love what he does, the bottom thing to remember is that stress is not bad. Negative emotions aren't bad. It's just learning to deal with them and put them in the proper place. And so that being said, we're covering all of that, and it does help eliminate some of the stress. And I saved one of my stories for the last tonight of a pivotal one that happened with using oils this week. So anyway, if you have any questions, I can only see like about 3 or 4 of you on here. So if someone else sees it, let me know if there's something I'm not covering quite right. Okay, so this was one of the quotes, and I had to think about this for a little while. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another. And sometimes I think, sometimes we're so stressed out that we can't think one thought over another. But it's when we're in the times of preparation and knowing that stress comes into our life that we do have the ability to choose what we do to prepare when these different things come into our life, and how to have a solid foundation so that we leave ourselves free to choose one thought over another and not just react to things that happen. Okay, so first of all, we're going to talk about the importance of healthy sleeping habits. So as what I put a little bit there on the slide, it says proper sleep is vital and often neglected component of health. It allows time for our mind to process and our bodies to be restored and strengthened. That's the most important thing about getting good sleep at night and why it is so important. But achieving proper sleep goes hand in hand with managing stress. That's probably our number one thing that we can do to help alleviate the stress in our life, is to have proper sleep. As all types of stress can harm sleep quality, and sleep deprivation can also fuel increased stress levels and anxiety. Because affecting proper sleep, the inability to manage stress and negative emotions is increasingly become a factor in most health conditions. Despite proper sleep and the management of stress are possibly the most underrated and ignored factor of overall health and well-being. Does anyone attest to that? That's like a pivotal. When we get good night's sleep, it seems like the whole day goes better. But if it's been a really hard night and I'm up all the time, or I don't wake up refreshed, I struggle to get my day started. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to talk with this sleep is what we just said. It's a lifestyle is the first thing that we can do to help get healthy habits for sleep. And so some of the things up here, it says to avoid alcohol, caffeine, stimulants, and develop a sleep routine that works best for you. Avoid excess screen time, maybe do a salt bath, some self-care there, and maybe reading. What are some things that you guys do to develop healthy sleep habits as far as lifestyle? What works for any of you?
I like to read for about an hour before, and then I put my book down and I do a short meditation. After that, I do 6 breathing exercises, or I inhale to a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, and exhale for a count of 6. I do that 6 times. And then that seems to get me relaxed. Lights are off. I do wear a sleep mask because in this day and age, no matter where we are, it seems like there's light coming in some way. So I wear a sleep mask, and that helps tremendously. And then if I can't seem to drop off, I start counting backwards from 1,000 slowly, very slowly. And it doesn't matter. I found when I first did it, I skip a number and I go back. And now I know that's not the point. The point isn't to get it right. The point is just to do that monotonous thing so that it shuts everything else off in your mind, and you're focusing just on your breathing and those numbers. And those seem to work really well for me.
Awesome. So when you do the deep breathing, do you use an oil with that?
I use Serenity, and I do take the Serenity soft gels as well. So I like the Serenity or Peace and lavender together.
Yeah, it's nice to use a variety, and depending on how you're feeling, makes a difference. Anyone else have something to share? Anyone on there? Okay. So So one of the things that I'd like you to think about from tonight is what are your sleep routines? Maybe if you have a piece of paper, jot down what's coming to your mind that of things that you do already, whether they're good or bad. And then maybe hopefully come up with some things that we talked about tonight to help you in one of those areas. I don't say to change everything all at once because a little bit at a time makes a difference. Okay, so we're going to go to the next slide about the oils. So we put some oils on here, and can you guys all read the screen? Is it big enough for you guys to see all the stuff on there? So I'd like to hear some comments of people of ones that they use the most at night and why. So I'll start out. My favorite on these lists is vetiver. How many use vetiver or have? Do you even own it? So when I first heard to use vetiver, I smelled it and I'm going, not necessarily my favorite. And I started using it and Dave was going, what is that one? And it just only took a very short while before both of us liked to have that smell in our room when we go to bed at night. It just, the smell of it then just kind of puts us in that mood. Has anyone else had that experience with any of these oils, that just the smell of that oil makes a difference? So
I'm like that with the Serenity.
mm-hmm.
So, and I also in the winter, I don't do this so much in the summer because it's just too warm. In the winter, I'll have a cup of chamomile tea and I will add a drop of Roman chamomile to that. And that is just really calming.
Nice. I do like the vetiver and lavender or Serenity. I change those back and forth, and balance is one that I like in there with it. So, and you can see some of these on here. If you haven't tried them before, you might make note of if there's some reason, depending on what it is, the reason that you have a hard time going to sleep is why you would pick some of the different oils. And so sometimes it's good to know what some of the varieties are, because if you've had a real bad day of anxiety and depression, then you'd put a drop or two of the spikenard in there, spikenard. Or the Roman chamomile is if you're having a hard time going to sleep, a little bit overexcited, or it's been hard that way. So it's really important to know some of these different ones. Is there any oil up here that is not listed that someone's had experience with that would like to share what they use and why?
I like copaiba. Anybody else like copaiba? Copaiba?
Yep. I seem to put copaiba and frankincense, a drop in almost everything I do, just automatically. So, okay. The next slide we have is literally the managing stress. And on this one, could I have someone read the slide for us? Lee, are you the only one on there that can see it?
I don't know. I don't think so. Barbara, can you see it?
I can see it. I can see it too. This is Shay.
Would one of you read that for Jolene?
I
Shay,
can read it.
thank you.
As a society, we often embrace a go, go, go mentality. We are accustomed to living a fast-paced lifestyle and being rewarded for the long, hard work, the hard hours of work we put in. We may even feel that taking time to hit the pause button or recharge mentally is lazy or indulgent, which can lead to feelings of guilt and selfishness. This type of thinking will eventually take a toll on our overall physical, mental, and emotional health. Optimal health and well-being requires a serious commitment to stress reduction and management.
I wanted this one read aloud. It's a lot of verbiage in there for a slide, but I think everything in that is really, really important, because as a society, literally, we are go, go, go all the time. And we almost put our self-worth on how much we go, 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 go. I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. And I've worked really, really hard to remember that how much I do all out there does not make who I am. And it usually causes more stress that I don't even know who I am anymore. And so if we can manage the stress in our life, like I said, we can't eliminate it, but if we can manage the stress in our life, it makes life so much more enjoyable. And it's like hitting that pause button and taking some time to mentally prepare and to take advantage of the things that we enjoy most in life that replenish, because when we're replenished, we have a whole lot more to give to other people. And so our emotional health is in no one's hands but ours, in how we respond to it. I mean, there's lots of outside stresses that tax our mental and emotional health, but it is our responsibility for each one of us to figure out how we can best manage that in whatever situation that we're at. And we're not ever going to be real perfect at it, but we have a lot of things that can help us with this part of it. And I think that as I have found the oils, that's been one of my greatest blessings in life, which I'm going to want people to share about this part of it, about ones that maybe that they've used during. But first of all, we're going to talk about managing stress as a lifestyle. So I want you to all look down the list here. I'm going to give you just a minute to look at each one of them and point out for yourself, make note of some of the things that help you either in the past or that you would like to in the future to put in place that would help you manage the stress in your life. And I'd like to hear from a few of you about that.
Well, I can share because I deal with anxiety and depression on a daily basis. So out of this list, some things that I do are, I've been lately doing more positive thinking and emotion, doing some mental training, I guess you could say, so that I change the bad thoughts that are in my mind and start, trying to get them to thoughts that direct me into a better place, I guess you could say. I also I sit in the sun whenever it's sunny in the window or even outside. Talking with friends is important to me, to have that outlet and share experiences and connect with others. And then, a big one is eating, getting a good diet in. Whenever I'm slacking on that, then I usually tend to have a harder time with life and stuff. So, and then, I don't know if you want me to share my adaptive now or later, Jolene.
This is a perfect time for that. That'd be
Okay.
awesome.
So the thing that got me into doTERRA was the adaptive oil, and I tried that, and it had such a profound effect on me, allowing me to, handle my emotions better and deal with life. So then I started taking the adaptive capsule, and that has been basically life-changing for me. As it's gotten in my system, I've been on it for over a year now, and I am now able to handle a lot more the stress that comes at me. It's easier for me to manage, and my anxiety is so, like, it's there occasionally, but not like it was, not all the time, which is so nice. There are things that I would go to, like, say, a dentist visit before, that I would have anxiety, no really reason why, but I just had it. And then I went, after being on adaptive, and I had none of that. And I was like, wow, this is so awesome. So just having that is super, super helpful and been life-changing for me. I've been homeschooling my kids this last year, which has been new for me and a big deal, because I am not a teacher in any stretch of the means. But but I call the adaptive oil my homeschooling oil, because anytime I'm getting a little bit, frustrated or, just not where I want to be with my children, I take a mommy break and I go and smell my adaptive oil, and it helps me immediately to calm down and just handle the stress and stuff. So that is my favorite oil in doTERRA.
Awesome. Thanks, Heather. Some of the things that you pointed out is that there's a lot of these lifestyle things that she already knows to put in place, and she uses those as is needed. But we'll find out in the next slide is that there's lots of oils that we use as well to help with the rest of it. So, and thankfully we have both sides of that. Thank you. Does anyone else have anything on this managing stress as a lifestyle that you want to point out? Lee already talked about deep breathing at night.
And meditation also. Jolene, Marilyn has a question about the difference between a wet brush and a dry brush. Can you enlighten us a little on that? She says she likes to use a body brush in the shower. So I guess.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention that too. Yeah, one of those big long brushes. I love to use that in the shower. And I notice here there's something about a dry brush, which I think I saw a long time ago. So I'm just wondering what the difference is with benefits.
I don't. Does anyone else know? I'm writing it down to find out.
I know that dry brushing is a specific technique, so I'm not sure if it matters if you use a wet brush in the shower or if it has to be a dry brush.
I've heard you start from the bottom and move up with the dry brush. That's pretty much all I remember, but yeah, there is a technique, Lee, you're right.
Okay, well, we'll find that out and post it on Jolene's site. If anyone else finds any research on it, let's post it out there so all of us can see the answers to that, because I didn't even think about the depth of what that dry brushing entailed. So, but you've had some experience with it then, or using brushing?
Me, Marilyn?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just love to use a brush in the shower on my body, on my back. And I did read a long time ago about dry brushing. So I am wondering, well, what is the difference between dry brushing versus using a brush in the shower that's, your body's wet when you're using it. So I was just wondering if that really matters, or if it is really about the technique, like what Lee said, and it's more important about the technique. I remember you do start from the bottom of your body and move on up towards your heart, but it's been so long, I don't remember for sure.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, interesting. Thank you.
I'm excited to find out more about that.
Very beneficial, I've heard.
I'll add that it's stimulates circulation. It is an exfoliating opportunity, and it also can be very pleasurable. And it seems to me that with the very light stroking that's used, that it would stimulate lymphatic drainage. So for people who have difficulty with lymphatic drainage, such as breast cancer or chest surgery or anything like that, that's affected the lymph nodes, that would be an excellent thing to do. Dry brushing versus wet brushing. I also think that the dry brush the bristles on the brush would not clump together. And usually in the shower, people are using a product like soap or something. But with dry brushing, it's just, I don't think anything is ever applied to the brush or the skin to do that.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I appreciate all that information. I love it when everybody gets to learn. That's the nice thing about the continuing education and having everybody on here is to share all of that wealth of information. So I appreciate that, you guys. Thank you. Okay, so let's go to oils in managing stress. Heather's talked to us a little bit about adaptive. Is there anyone else that has a stress oil that they like to use, whether it's on this list or not?
I use for myself tangerine. That really helps me a lot. I have a busy mind and it's hard for me to focus, whether it's for work or for sleep. And if I do the tangerine, it really helps me.
That's awesome. So do you like keep it in your purse to make sure to have
I
it?
actually wear it like perfume. I put drops on my neck and in my wrists and in the crease of my elbows
Mhm.
and under my knees. And then I diffuse it in my house a lot. That's not the only one I use, but when I'm having, especially for work, when I really have to meet a deadline and I can't make myself concentrate for some reason. I don't know the reason why it works, but that particular oil works really well for me.
Okay, that's awesome. Anyone else? One of my favorites that just makes me, I like to inhale and just makes me feel good is the green mandarin. There's a lot of stuff behind green mandarin, but I think not necessarily even that all of the stuff up there applies, but it does just that's the one like tangerine for you just opens up my mind and just brings a little bit of balance and not so much putting myself down. So anyone else that I can't see that has a comment here? Okay,
I
so
also use, sorry, Jolene. I also use frankincense a lot because it's a grounding oil and just helps me. We did some kind of test and there's different oils we associate or our personalities kind of match, and frankincense is for me and it really does help me when I'm struggling too.
where do you put it?
I usually will smell it and then I'll put it like on my wrists. And oh, it's the EO technique that I do with it. I usually try to do that where I put my hands to my forehead, they're clasped together and just breathe deeply. So.
Awesome. I know that a lot of you probably know this, but with the frankincense, just putting it on the crown of your head opens up your head for more enlightenment. So
Yeah.
a really good place to use it as well.
Jolene, some of the people on the call are new, and I might say that the EO technique, which Heather mentioned, which is awesome, is putting the oils down on this spot and just breathing deep and letting go of negative emotions. And there's certain oils to let go of certain emotions. If you want that list, let me know, because it's an awesome list of letting go as well as bringing in the good. So thank you, Heather. Very good point.
Thanks. Okay, the next part is emotional health. The word Jolene just brought us right into it. So it's critical. Our emotional health is critical for us to manage our emotions. And stress responses often include negative emotions that can linger long after the physical stressors have passed away. These emotions can include depression, anxiety, anger, distress, and when they are ignored, they cause problems to our physical and emotional health. They are signals that something in our life isn't working, and instead, we need to choose, like it says on here, to understand and deal with the negative emotions. Essential oils are the excellent resource for supporting our emotions. So here are some of the ones that the book talked about. This is like only scratches. It doesn't even scratch the surface, but it gets us thinking. And if there's ones that you haven't thought about, so I'm just going to give you a minute to read through all of these. And then I'd like someone to tell us what ones you use, whether it's from the list or something else, and why you choose that specifically for your emotional health. So take a minute to look at all of them. I wrote stuff there to help a little bit about what their oils do.
So it's interesting to look at this list and think of my oils on this list that I love to use, which are Motivate, Cheer, and Citrus Bliss. And all of those seem to be overwhelmed feelings or anxiety. So, and I guess all of these are, but I prefer citrusy things. Some people prefer flowery things. So the cool thing about the oils is you can find something that appeals to you to help out.
Well, and I love that so many of them cross over each other so that you can have the variety. And I actually feel like it's good for that, to be able to have a little bit of variety with it. So is there any that stands out from anyone that has a story or something to say about the oil?
I use ylang ylang because if you have Dr. D's EO Technique, his original sheet has a list of oils and personalities that match those oils. And that's I call it my soul oil. So I use that every day, a couple of times a day. And it just calms me down. It clears up fog. It just gets rid of the apathy that I sometimes have, that I just don't want to do anything. It really helps with that. And that's the reason that I use it, is because I read that list of oils and all the different personality traits that went along with those oils, and it just matched what I needed, and it worked so well for me. It's just amazing that he could have a list of oils like that, and they could work like that. So
it totally is amazing. It's like been a life changer in my family. Anyone else want to share from this list or about an oil that they use and why?
I can. Sorry, I'm talking so much. So I love to use Cheer just because it's uplifting and just like it says, cheerful. And so that's really good with depression. And it was funny because one day I was diffusing it in my craft room, and my daughter, who's 9, came in and she's like, "What is that smell?" And I told her, and she's like, "I love it." She's like, "I need to use this when I'm homeschooling, because when we're homeschooling, she gets very angry and annoyed and upset, and it's been very, very challenging and stuff." So I just thought that was cute that she recognized that it could help her in that situation.
That is, I love it when the kids make those connections. It makes life so much easier. Okay, so this has already been well introduced, but you guys will be really happy that I even put it on here. The EO technique. I think that's one of the funnest, is that a word? Funnest things about the upline that we all have is learning from Dr. Damaris and the stuff that the research and the work that he puts into this. So for those of you, Jolene just explained to this part where you put the oils on your wrist, and then I think Heather was showing you, but you clasp your hands, interlocking your fingers. That's kind of joining the both sides of your brain, and then putting your thumbs together and placing those over these points right here on your forehead. And then as you put that there, if you can bend over and just breathe in the oils on your wrists. So you can see down here that on this first slide, I put the supporting chart. And so I have the other one to show you a little bit more, but I wanted to talk about this little part of it. For those of you who haven't had any training in this or gone into depth, this is a whole class in and of itself because of the power that is in this technique. It's taking the oils and learning how to use them as a specific instrument in your day. So I, like Jolene said, have a lot of kids. And one of them, I've had a few of them that have had a lot of trouble with pregnancies. And this particular daughter, this is like kind of in the height of that season where she has lost several of them about the same time of year for the last several years. And so she's been finding herself more and more depressed. And it just all that goes along with that. I'm sure some of you guys understand without me even having to say much about it, that she's just in such a deep slump right now that she doesn't even know how to get out of it. And so before we identified and spoke the words that the miscarriages and her grief of loss of that, I had her look over this list here, and she identified 2 of them and decided that we needed to get the ylang ylang and the ginger out for her to smell. And so the first one that I had her take in and smell was the ylang ylang. And she did it while she was sitting there. And so, you know, as you do this, you apply it, and then you smell that oil until you can't concentrate on that thought anymore, whether that's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds. And so I told her, I says, just everything's going to be quiet. Just breathe it until you can't concentrate on it anymore. And just like Dr. Tamara says, it's like 10 seconds, maybe 15. So this is stuff that can change our day when we're in the midst of it. And she looked up and I says, already? She says, yeah, wow. You know, she just was so amazed. And then for the grief, she was taking the ginger. And so she chose to go in the bedroom, because this one was a harder one for her. Just thinking about it brought tears to her eyes. And she went in her room, and she was back out literally inside 30 seconds. And I'm going, again, amazed. You never seem to not be amazed at how this stuff works. And she came out and not only said, I'm feeling better, she says, I know what I have to do. In 30 seconds. And she told me what she knew from doing that simple thing, what she needed to do to get permission to move on. And so we identified it. And the next morning we did what she needed to do. And she's like, she's not over it by any means, but she's got the hump, and she has all of these oils at home, so that she can process them, and the sheets, so she can process them as she needs them. So you don't have to just do one at a time. You only want to apply one at a time, but however many of that you need, process one at a time, and then go to the next one and process it until you're done. And you can't overdose on it, but this is like when you talk about eliminating stress, this is the closest thing to eliminating stress that I can come to. But it's the most powerful way to manage. And so I just want to show you, he's got several pages to this, but I just wanted to add this part to it to see, you can also, if you're not having a bad day and it's, you know, you don't need to process a negative emotion, you might want to specifically have one of these to make your day. And so you can do the same thing, is intentionally, what do you want to feel? Do you want to feel really empowered and focused on your purpose today? Grab out the Melissa, put it on your wrist, and go to it, you know? So that's all I have by way of any of that. But it's, let me, trying to get you guys back. Do you see me yet? Oh, I didn't stop sharing. I just stopped it. There.
There you go.
Okay. So there's just some really powerful stuff. We're not now bonded and in bondage to our emotions. We can literally do something. And I think that one thing that I want you to hear is that emotions and stress aren't always negative. It's how we choose to handle them that makes the difference. And we have tools to take care of all of that. And it's important that we feel them and process them and learn and move on. So I appreciate you letting me be here today. If you have any questions, you have a whole group. All of this kind of stuff. And if you want to learn more about the EO technique, Jolene can make that happen.
Well, actually,
So
Lee put it in the chat. So if you want to go to the chat, it's under my name because Lee's on my account right now. eotechnique.com will give you all that great information. And thank you so much. I think the word for me in what you've shared today is clarity. And as we're dealing with emotions, we just all need clarity. And I spent the week at my mother's 90th birthday and the sisters retreat. And I have a sister I don't get along with and a mother I don't get along with. And I had a really tough week. And I thought, I come home an emotional mess and tell my husband, I need therapy. I just need help. And I feel like I'm older and I should be wiser and able to get through it, but it's a lifelong process. So I'm going to be using some of these for clarity because I need it too. We all do. So, love
Can
you
I
all.
just,
Yes.
can I share something real quick? So I want to show, let's see if I can turn my camera around. So I made this little kit. It's the samples and it's all the different emotional oils that Damaris talks about, so that wherever I go, I have what I need. And then I made a smaller one with just the basic stuff for my kids so that they know what they can use when they're having the different emotions.
Can you imagine growing up as a child and having that as a tool?
Yeah, I just always think, I'm like, man, this would have made a huge difference for me in my life. So I'm hoping my kids will take advantage of it and learn while they're young. So,
oh, that's amazing, Heather. Thank you so much, Jolene. Thank you all for being here tonight. That was wonderful. We have next week, kind of an interesting, because we talked about stress tonight, but next week is managing our emotions. And so Janie will be teaching us next week about managing our emotions, and that will be maybe a little bit more of the same. It'll be good for us. And please come and join us then. And please know you can stay on with us. We'll have a short business meeting now for any